Well, good morning, everyone. This is Heather from Going Batty, and today, well, first of all, I'm going to check the chicken coop. I'm going to check for eggs, and I'm going to kind of take you through my day and show you how I am going to plan my garden coming up for this summer. Let's see what we have here. Let's see. Do we have any? Oh, well, it's full, and everyone's fighting over one nesting box. So none here, none here, none here yet. Well, hello there. How are you? I always have to check in the run because sometimes we have lazy chickens and they don't want to lay their eggs in the nesting box. They'll lay them. Well, you can see there's a board there. That board's there because they lay eggs in that corner under their roost. So, and their roost can get kind of gross, so you don't want eggs under there. But let's see here. Hi, ladies. I don't have anything for you. Sorry. No. All right, so this is kind of cool. This is the feeder that Kevin made. We were wasting so much feed because we had it in a big bowl and they would just throw it out everywhere. So what he did is he took this bucket, he cut holes in the side, and they stick their little heads in here, and they get the food out of there. See how it kind of curves down? But the food's down there, and we have very, very little waste now. This floor used to be covered in chicken feed. So y'all were messy and wasteful, but you're not anymore. That's awesome. Let's see if they do it. Will they stick their heads in there? Maybe not. Hi. But yeah, so that is the feeder bucket that Kevin made, and it is working really, really well for them. The other thing that he's done is, if you look right here, this is their water bowl, and we clean it out every day because chickens are gross. But he has put an aquarium heater in that because we get temperatures like last week, like our weather's weird. Today it's almost spring-like, and it's in like the high 40s. Last week, it was like -6 with a wind chill of like -27. So we need something to keep our water from freezing for the chickens. So he's done that. There's Miss Thing, our kitty cat, in our this is kind of our boneyard where we keep just extra stuff that we may use. Right here, this is all chicken manure that we're letting sit so that we can use it in the garden. There's Chuck. I let him out today so he can sniff around and get out in the sunshine. All right, so I got my cup of coffee and let's get started garden planting. So here in Wyoming, where we live, we're in zone 4. So all of the people around here say don't plant your garden until after Memorial Day. So we have a really, really short growth season, but I'm gonna show you some of the things that I got this year to help kind of extend my grow season out a little bit. I'm giving them a try. It's the first time I've ever done it, so you'll get to come along with me. So the first thing you want to do is you actually want to plan out where you're going to plant things, because you can have all of the plants that you want to plant, but if you don't have the space for it, then you're going to be wasting money because you're like, dang it, I bought all of those and now I don't have a place to put them. So I'm going to show you what I did. All right, right here is my garden planning 3-ring binder. And so what I do is I have in here, like I have this, it has my pencils and erasers and stuff, because I always need a lot of those because I'm constantly moving things around. And then here, let me move this. This is my Clyde's garden planner. And this kind of gives you a rough, like, when you need to plant things. So hold on a second and I'll show you what I mean. Let me get this open there. All right, so right here, if you look at this, our grow zone is 4B. Our last frost date, so I need to flip it over because it does, this is your first frost date on one side and then your last frost date is on the other side. So you can do more than one planting a year if you're really good at this. But so right here, you see that line? It'll tell you, okay, that is your that is your last frost date. And what you're going to do is you're going to look up like when is the last frost date in your area. And you can Google that. The Farmer's Almanac has a place where you can find that. And then you're just going to move this over to where your last frost date is. So ours is about the last week of May, the first week of June. So like I said, we have a really, really short grow season. So if you see the SI on there, that's start inside. So it tells me when I need to start my plants. So like if I'm gonna do cabbage, I need to start it inside around like the 29th of March. And so all of the ones that SI are the ones where you would start it inside. And then it gives you all this other information, like when you're gonna harvest, when you're gonna do your first plant, because if you flip it over on the back, it'll show you like when the LP is last plant. So you'd move this over, but I haven't gotten to the place where I'm good enough to do more than one planting a year. Like I said, because our grow season is maybe 90 days at the most. The other thing I have here in my notebook is I have notes from my garden from last year. And if you didn't grow a garden the year before, then don't worry about it. But take notes. One thing, like the learning curve that we've had to find out here is that we don't get a lot of rain. We don't get a lot of water. So water management is really, really important here. The other thing here too is that zucchini grows like it gets paid to do it. I mean, any kind of squash plant. I had huge squash plants. I mean, I'm talking like 4.5 foot tall, and they blocked out everything. So I made notes of that about the zucchini and squash. Our potatoes, they didn't do well. We've done them in grow bags and we've done them in feed barrels, and they didn't do well in it. So this year I'm going to move them to an actual raised bed. And for here, raised beds are better because our soil is really rocky, and it doesn't warm up real quickly. So we're doing ours in raised beds. I'm not going to do companion planting this year. It didn't work so great last year. Like I said, right here, we need to figure out our watering system. The other thing here, full sun here is different than where we lived before. Because we're at such a high elevation, it will burn your plants and your plants will dry out super quickly. So cucumbers did really, really great here. But I've taken all sorts of notes, and then this is what I want to grow this year. So, I just kind of make a list of the stuff that I want to do. After I make my list, then I go ahead and I map out our backyard. Now we, in our little town, our yards aren't big. And again, part of that is because of water management. Now we do live by a river and everything, but because of the lack of rain that usually happens here, people don't have giant yards because they just can't keep them maintained because you need a ton of water to do that. So, what I did is I drew out so here is the back of our house. Here's our garage. This is the gate that comes in. Here's our chicken coop, the chicken run. And then I have north, west, east, south. I have so that's where the direction of the sun is coming. But I planned out all of my beds, because if you don't do that, like I said, you're going to run into, I've got all these plants and I didn't plan well for them. Now you can change it around once you get into it, and I usually do sometimes, but I'm really, really trying hard to stick to my plan this time around. But because I want to maximize the space that we have. And so I have my onions here, and I'm doing square foot planting. So I have my onions here, and I can get 162 onions in a 3x6 bed. And those are things, my onions and potatoes, I didn't order the seeds for. I'm actually going to buy them here at a local nursery because the lady that runs it, she gets all of her plants and seed potatoes and seed onions from a place that is in the same grow zone as us. Because sometimes what you'll find is say if you live in like us in grow zone 4 and you order seeds and plants from a grow zone 6. They don't grow the same here. So my onions and my potatoes here, I'm going to get later as soon as she opens up and has them. Because I'm going to get the kind that grow well here. But I've ordered, like right here, this is my tomato bed. I have my Amish paste tomatoes, and then I'm going to have some sort of slicing tomato, like a Cherokee tomato or a yellow tomato. I've got all of my seeds, and I'll show you those. Cucumbers are down here. My cucumbers did really well, so I'm going to put a trellis that they can grow up. Right here's my herb bed, which is already established. So are my raspberries. Here is my green beans and pole beans. Now, I might change that where I don't do pole beans and just do the bush beans, but we'll see. Here, I have Napa cabbage and okra, and then here I have my carrots. And I'm going to try to plant more raspberry plants this year. We'll see. But all of these little circles that you see, well, that's a tree, but all of the other little circles here, these are all feed barrels. And so I'm going to grow things like radishes in them, spinach, head lettuce, like just regular like lettuce greens in these. And then in my grow bags, I'm going to do some squash. Now, we don't eat a ton of it, but we keep it for our chickens. And if I do spaghetti squash, we can eat some of that, but then our chickens can have it all through the winter. This is my setup I have to start my seeds. So we're in our basement, and we're actually in the room that has the water heater and the furnace. So it's actually a little warmer in here than everywhere else, but I have my grow lights. I have my little greenhouse things, but I also have right here, if I can move it, my heat mats to help germinate the seeds. So I've got all of this set up. And then over here, I have found that these are just easier to start plants in. They're less of a mess than filling all of these pots. And yes, I may have to transplant them as they get bigger, but in the beginning, I just find those to be easier to start my seeds in. These are all the things that I'm going to grow this year. And so, except for maybe this one, I have to make sure I have a bed for that first, but asparagus is something that you got to let it grow for a couple of years before you pick it, so it's well established. But that is all that I'm going to plant. And I wanted to tell you, if you're going to start saving seeds, actually the easiest one to do are beans. These are my grandpa's pole beans right here. Now, those seeds are probably, I don't know, probably at least 15 years old, maybe 20. And I planted them and they grew. So that's not the case with all beans or all seeds. There's some that have a very short period where you can plant them. But beans are very easy to save. You just let them dry out. And the other one, these I saved. These are okra right here. These little seeds. So I'm going to try to grow okra here. I don't know if it'll grow here or not, but that was one thing that my grandpa always did, is he always experimented with at least one plant that was weird that, you know, didn't grow in like maybe our environment, and to see if he could get it to grow. But these are my seeds, and I'm going to be starting some of them. Some of them I will direct sow. So things like my radishes, my herbs, some of my herbs, my lettuces, my spinach, those will be direct sow. Things like my tomatoes, my cucumbers, my beans will be a direct sow too. My tomatoes, my cucumbers, and my peppers, and my cabbages, or my Napa cabbage, I'll all start inside. The other thing I have is this thing here, and this is to help me with kind of planting in a square foot. Now, my problem is like you have to like grit it off and hope that you got all the seeds evenly spaced. Well, this thing here, you take it, and I'll show you. Let me get the box here. Get the glare off of it. See that there? You just push it down in the dirt and it makes the grid for you. And then you take this little stick here, and depending on what you're planting, you will poke the little hole, and it'll show you right there how deep it goes. And then this little end here, you put the seeds in and you just dump it in there. And then it also has on the back, for those itty bitty tiny seeds, it has a little funnel. So you're just kind of dumping it in there. I guess this is the first time that I'm ever using this, but like I said, it's hard sometimes to make sure that you're getting everything evenly spaced. So I thought, that seems like a good idea. And it also comes with a planting guide, and it tells you what each color is. So like red is beets, carrots, onions, leeks, microgreens, parsnips, radishes, salad greens, scallions, and turnips. So, and each color will tell you what, how many of what you can plant. So of those, like in the red, you can plant 16. Yellow is 9, blue is 4, orange is 1. So right here, what I would probably do in that middle one is, okay, I've already started a tomato plant. So I would just push that down, and in that middle hole, like I would just dig around there and put my tomato plant into my my raised beds. Now these are the garden beds that I'm going to use, because again, it takes a little while for the soil to kind of get warm enough to plant things. These are metal. They're metal beds. They're, let me think, 3 by 6 by 1. But if you look, they have a little greenhouse that goes over top of them. Now it's only about maybe 4 foot tall, the greenhouse, which is good because around here our winds are really, really high sometimes. And if you have like a like one of those pop-up shelters, we had ours blow over into the neighbor's yard. And the reason that it being 4 foot is good is because we have a 6 foot privacy fence all the way around our yard. So hopefully it'll block the wind from blowing them out of our yard. Gina decided to join me. Yes, good girl. Oh, no, not in the face, not in the face. So that is planting my garden, showing you kind of what's going on with our chickens and stuff, and giving you an idea of where everything is going to go in my yard. I would love to hear what you guys are planting. Make sure you like, subscribe. You can check us out on Patreon, and more updates as we go. Bye.